Hello, everyone. This is the Crimson Cure, welcoming you to the Crimson Tower, a place where we keep a feminine foot on the neck of the gynocracy, feminism, and black male misandry. So go ahead, pull up a chair, stay a while, and listen.
This is A-Game. Fast acting, long lasting, with no side effects.
Hello there, my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel. I am, of course, your host, the Crimson Cure. And as usual, we're just going to jump right into the topic. So what I want to talk about today is the sad death of Ma'Khia Bryant. And as we know, that is the teenage girl that was shot by police in Ohio just a couple of days ago. And what I'm going to do is I am going to read an article, an updated article, is the most updated article that I could find with the most information in it. And I'm going to read this article. So you're going to share the screen and read this article. And then we're going to discuss the situation surrounding it, not necessarily the shooting itself, because there are still details coming out about that. And I don't want to jump on the bandwagon and say, oh, this was some type of, racially driven situation, because honestly, my gut feeling doesn't tell me that. But that's not really what I want to discuss today about Ma'Khia's death. I want to sort of talk about the surrounding circumstances and how a 16-year-old girl gets into that situation. So, without further ado, I'm going to just go ahead and read the article. I'm not going to play the video. This article was actually updated earlier today, which is the 22nd, on NBC. So, police in Columbus, Ohio released more body cam video Wednesday showing an officer's point of view as he pulled his weapon, opened fire, and killed a 16-year-old girl while responding to a 911 call. The body-worn camera of police officer Nick Reardon recorded how he arrived at a reported disturbance late Tuesday afternoon. Reardon drew his weapon as the altercation unfolded. The video showed police have said the video shows someone trying to stab a person on the ground as well as a second person. A person wearing a black t-shirt is seen with an object in her right hand that she raises towards a second person before Reardon fires. The girl whom police shot and killed was identified as Ma'Khia Bryant. Police picked up what appeared to be a knife near the girl's body, and an officer could be heard on camera saying she had a knife. She just went at her. A representative for the union representing Columbus police could not be immediately reached for comment Wednesday afternoon. Bryant was in the foster care system. Franklin County Children's Services confirmed Tuesday night. So that's actually an important point that I want everyone to remember. Interim Police Chief Michael Woods told reporters Wednesday, "It's a tragedy. There's no other way to say it. It's a 16-year-old girl." The case is being handled by the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation, and Columbus authorities said they will be limited in their comments. But Woods said department policy allows officers to shoot if it is believed that someone's life is in danger. "I cannot respond specifically to this incident," Woods said. "But what I can say is that when officers are faced with someone employing deadly force can be the response the officer gives." The Bryant family released a statement Thursday saying they were saddened by the tragic and unnecessary death of Ma'Khia. Ma'Khia was a good student, a good person, and did not deserve what happened to her. "We want to remind everyone Ma'Khia was only a 16-year-old teenage girl. We are deeply disturbed by the disproportionate and unjustified use of force in this situation," the statement read. "And while we remain encouraged by public support and all of the prayers shared with us, at the end of the day, we know nothing will bring back our beloved Ma'Khia. We respectfully request justice for Ma'Khia Bryant." Don Bryant, a cousin of Bryant's mother, said police had other options. "I know there are de-escalation tactics that could have been used. You killed a teenage girl. That could have been avoided," he said. "I'm seriously asking the Columbus Police Department what's going on. I'm a supporter of our police, but what's going on here? What's going on that we have to be so trigger happy these days? And here's what I don't want is this whole Blue Lives versus Black Lives Matter issue. Listen here, there's been a loss of life, bottom line, and you have a grieving mother who is just heartbroken." Public Safety Director Ned Pettis Jr. said at a news conference Wednesday that video of the encounter raises questions. The video shows that there is more to this. It requires us to pause, to take a close look at the sequence of events, and though it's not easy, wait for the facts as determined by an independent investigation, Pettis said. We have to ask ourselves, what information did the officer have? What did he see? How much time did he have to assess the situation? And what would have happened had he taken no action at all, he said. It was not clear whether the officer gave any warning or instructions before Bryant was shot. Wood said the officer would not have been required to give a warning. We tried, but it is not a policy requirement that you yell your intent to fire your weapon, Wood said. If there is time and opportunity, yes, we try and include that, but it is not a requirement if that time and opportunity is not there. Police also released 2 911 calls about the disturbance. It was not clear who made the calls or whether Bryant was a caller. Hazel Bryant, the girl's aunt, said Bryant was acting in self-defense. My niece was defending herself, she said. Those were grown adult women. It looked like that was a child, but that was not a child. Those were women attacking my niece, and she was defending herself, and I'm angry right now. The first 911 call was made at 4:32 p.m. and officers were not dispatched until 4:35. Wood said he did not know why it took 3 minutes to send police or whether that might have been a reasonable delay. So what cars are available? They rate those in priority, Wood said. Once a car is available, they get dispatched. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine pleaded for the public's patience. We all want things instantly. I certainly do. He said, let an impartial body look at that. I have every confidence that that will be done in this case and that's what we all should wait for. So here's what I really want to say about this situation. How did Ma'Khia get into this situation? Because the first thing that we learn is that she was in a foster care situation. So her mother and her family being heartbroken and saying, oh, she was a good girl, she was this, she was that. I have to cast a side eye to all of that, because if she was such a good girl and such a good person, why did she need to be in the foster care system? If there was some situation at her home that did not allow her to remain at home, why is it that she did not live with another family member? Why was she in the foster care system? So the first thing that we have to look at is Ma'Khia's family value, her dwelling value. Where was that? And because she's a minor, her family value and dwelling value is the responsibility of the adults around her. Okay. So apparently there was some sort of dysfunction or disruption or some breakdown in the familial home, which caused Ma'Khia to have to be in foster care in the first place. Okay. And then let's think about the actual situation at hand. If in fact those were 2 adults and Ma'Khia was the one who was defending herself, how is it that a 16-year-old gets into an altercation with 2 adult women to the point where knives have to be pulled and they're actually physically fighting? Let's just say Ma'Khia was the one who called the police, or those women came to where Ma'Khia was in order to fight her. What kind of situation do you have to be in order to get into those types of altercations? Because we know that in the hood, there are those kinds of fights. There are, people jumping people and, people pulling up at your place of work or your house or somewhere where they know you're going to be, and then try to jump you, maybe 2, maybe 3 people that try to, they blindside you and they try to fight you and all of this sort of thing. But since we know that happens in the hood, we also know that it's dysfunctional. We also know that there's a high level of dysfunction that's actually happening that allows for those types of situations to unfold. Okay. So you aren't going to be able to convince me that she's a peaceable, peace-loving young lady that gets into a situation with allegedly 2 adult women where she has to pull a knife in order to defend herself. Now, I'm not saying you can't defend yourself, But at the same time, if they had come to her house to fight her, wouldn't it have been more prudent for her to stay in the house if she's going to call the police rather than actually come outside to confront the people who are there to fight her? And you obviously you come out of the house with a knife because you're prepared to fight. And we can almost put this story together on our own, because for those of us who have lived in the ghettos and the hoods of America, of any big inner city, then we know what it is. We already know how it goes. You know, they probably pulled up, and instead of her remaining in the house, she don't want to be a quote unquote punk. So she gets a knife and goes out to confront them, and they get into it. The police gets called about a disturbance. He comes up. He doesn't know who's who. All he knows is he sees someone with a knife attempting to stab another person. And that's when the shots ring out. But before we get to an altercation where she's being shot by police, we have to understand, or at least try to think about, how she gets into this place. The breakdown happens in her family value. That's where the breakdown is at, because she was a minor. So the breakdown was in her family. The breakdown was in the spiritual value. The breakdown was in the dwelling value. And the dwelling value couldn't have been that high because she was living in a foster care situation. And those are notoriously haphazard and dysfunctional. So the message today that I want to sort of stress is, this is how we get our youth into these situations, by, as adults, not having a good handle on these internal 5 of the 10 life values. When we don't have a good handle on our spiritual, our health, our family, our appearance, and our dwelling, our children reap the consequences of that, because we do not have that together to pass on to them as children and as minors. So who knows what she has seen or been through or gone through in her place of dwelling, in the home, in the family home, the foster home, whomever, for that to be an acceptable thing, that, okay, I've gotten into it somehow, probably online or whatever the case may be. I don't know how she knew those women, or why they were fighting, or why, they had beef with one another, but it ended in her death. And that's the message today. When we as parents, and particularly mothers, when we don't have the internal of those 10 life values, if we don't have those internal 5 together on our own, then we're not going to be able to have them together for our kids. Who put her in that situation? How did she get there? Why wasn't she living in a loving home with her parents? This is what a broken family results in, unfortunately. And the saddest part about it is, we have a young lady that's not even going to get an opportunity to right the ship, because she's gone now. The police was just the end of that road, but how did she get there? She didn't just magically snap her fingers and she was in a situation where she could be shot. Her family put her there, and now they want to cry victim. And I'm not saying that they can't possibly love her, but who's going to address the breakdown? Which one of them is going to address the breakdown that led her to a foster situation, that also led her to a situation where she could get into it with 2 allegedly adult women that got so mad that they wanted to come to wherever she was at to fight her or to have some type of confrontation with her? So these are the things that I want everyone to think about. How does Ma'Khia Bryant happen? And how can we actually prevent that? So what I'd like for everyone to do is sound off in the comments section. What do you think? Do those lack of value systems have anything to do with the outcome? Is it a separate situation for you? Or are those things could be correlated? And I'd like to have everyone's opinion. So like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. And what I'm going to do is wrap this up, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye, Crimsonites. Hey guys, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And if you've got more to say on the topic, leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to support our sponsor, who so graciously supports this channel by clicking the description box and the link for A-Game at agameherbal.com. You can go ahead and get a 10% discount off of your next purchase using the code Kendra10. This has been yet another Crimson Cure production, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.